Hey guys, it's Neat2 up here, and welcome to Black Dude Reviews, a show hosted by a black dude who's now in full HD. Welcome to Super Mario Bros. 3, the third Mario game that was released about 2 years after the second game, which was received pretty well and was the fourth most sold game for the NES. After that grand reveal of the stage production in the form of a video game in the movie The Wizard, the hype for this game immediately accelerated. And when the game did release, people loved it, with some to this day claiming that this was the best Mario game ever. Now, I was not around when this game was released, but I am somewhat familiar with the online NES community and how it feels about this game. So let's explore what the hype was all about as we review Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. Once again, this game is supposed to be a stage production, which I, for one, think is a very unique idea for a video game. When you start the show, you're greeted with an overworld map of World 1, where you get to move Mario to the next available level. And the more you complete levels, the more you get to choose which level you want to take on first or which place you want to go to next. For right now, let's talk about the levels. Super Mario Bros. 3 takes the formula of the first Super Mario Bros. Game and expands upon it greatly. The question blocks are back, the super mushrooms are back, the 1-up mushrooms are back, the fire flowers are back, and Starman is back too. The one thing I find kind of interesting is that if you hit a power-up block from a certain side, the power-up will start moving in the opposite direction of the side you hit the block on. I found this to be a little frustrating the first few times I played this, but after getting used to it, it's not that bad most of the time. In addition to the returning power-ups, we also get some new ones. If you touch a super leaf that you can get from hitting blocks with power-ups, you turn into Raccoon Mario. This is easily the best power-up in the game. You can knock out enemies with your tail, you can rapidly press A to slow down your descent when you're airborne, and if you fill up your power meter by getting enough speed, you can even fly up to areas you otherwise can't reach without it. There's also a power-up called the P-Wing. If you use it, the power meter is filled constantly, so you can fly whenever you want, and you can use this to skip past levels you might find annoying, because almost all the enemies from the first game return in this game. A power-up that acts very similarly to Raccoon Mario is Tanuki Mario. You turn into Tanuki Mario by using a Tanuki suit, and it acts very similarly to Raccoon Mario, except that you're able to down stomp on enemies by turning into a statue by pressing down and B. There's also the frog suit that makes underwater sections more bearable to get through and can allow you to access some areas you can't reach without the frog suit. And there's also the hammer suit that lets Mario throw hammers at enemies to kill them. One power-up that only shows up in 5-3 is Goomba's shoe, which lets you stomp on and kill almost any enemy. It kinda sucks that it's only in one level in the entire game though. Something cool about Koopas is that if you stomp on them, you can actually pick up their shells and throw them at enemies to kill them. You can also throw them at grounded question blocks to uncover a power-up you couldn't have accessed without using the shell. You can even use Koopa shells to uncover a vine that leads to a secret area. Another object you can get from power-up blocks is the P-switch. When you jump on it, all the coins turn into brick blocks and vice versa. But this change only lasts for about 5 to 10 seconds, so make sure to take advantage of it. Another new object in this game is the jump block, which kind of behaves like the springs from the first game, except you don't jump nearly as high as you would when you jump off a spring. And there are some jump blocks that can give you access to another returning feature from the first game, Coin Heaven. At the end of every world, there's a gold block. When you touch it, one of 3 items, a star, a mushroom, or a flower, will be added to your 3 cards at the bottom right of the screen. If you fill up all 3 cards and they're all the same, you'll get more than just 1 extra life. The best set of 3 cards is 3 stars, which will score you 5 extra lives. But if you don't get the same object for all 3, you'll just get 1 extra life. Here's a tip. When you're about to end the level, make sure you're sprinting to the goal. Then try to nail the goal in the bottom left. Most of the time you should get a star from doing that. Now let's talk a little bit about the world maps. In them, you can choose which level you want to start on, and you get more freedom with the levels you want to take on first the more you progress into the world. Alongside levels are also mini fortresses that have their own unique enemies and elements in them. At the end of every mini fortress, you fight Boom Boom, who's pretty easy if you take him out quickly. But besides levels and mini fortresses, there are other unique locations you can travel to as well. One is Toad's house, where you can get a random power-up to add to your power-up inventory, and you can use these power-ups whenever you want. However, there's a limited amount of power-ups you can keep in your power-up inventory before new power-ups start eating your old ones. You can also earn power-ups by running into a hammer brother in the world map and beating them, or by running into a moving card icon in the world map and doing the card minigame. Now, something to note about the card minigame is that there are actually 8 8 different card layouts that can be found in the Super Mario Bros. 3 Nintendo Power Strategy Guide. And the 3 cards on the bottom right are always the same: mushroom, flower, and star. Use those 2 facts to get as many items as you can from the card minigame. Another unique location that can be found on the world map is Toad's slot minigame, where you have a chance to score extra lives depending on what object you select for the 3 slots, with the best option once again being the star. And some locations can be pretty secret, like the secret Toad house that you can reveal by collecting all the coins in 1-4, and also a secret Hammer Brother fight in World 2 that grants you the warp whistle, more on that soon, and also a secret coin ship. I don't know how this is unlocked in the other worlds, but in World 1, in order to unlock this, first of all, a Hammer Brother has to be active on the world map. And second, you have to clear a stage with these 3 criteria met. Your coin count has to be a multiple of 11, the 10th place of your score has to match the 10th place of your coin count, and when you beat the level, the timer has to be on an even number. Once you do that and you reach the coin ship, you can get up to 2 extra lives here because of all the coins. There are also some unique power-ups besides the suits and the P-Wing I mentioned earlier. You can get a cloud that lets you skip past a level, a hammer that can break boulders in the world map that obstruct the path, and a music block that puts all the active Hammer Brothers in the world map to sleep. There's also the warp whistle, which you can get in 3 locations in the game. Twice in World 1 and once in World 2 after that secret Hammer Brother fight. When you use it, you get taken to a world selection screen, and warp whistles are very useful if you're trying to get through this game as fast as you can. And there's also the anchor that makes the airships stay in place after dying in them. Speaking of airships, there's one you have to go through at the end of every world. Well, actually, in regards to the story, at the end of every world there's a castle you have to go to. In the castle, Toad tells you that the king has been transformed and sends you to the airship to retrieve the magic wand to turn the king back to his normal self. The airships themselves contain a lot of projectile enemies, including bullet bills and these bullets that shoot out of these cannons. At the end of every airship, there's a Koopaling boss that you have to jump on 3 times to beat. Some of them are pretty easy, but some can be kind of annoying, like Roy and his earthquakes, Wendy and her candy rings, and Lemmy and his bouncy balls. After beating the Koopaling, Mario retrieves the magic wand, the king gets restored, and he gives you a letter from the princess that contains a certain tip about the game. Then you progress to the next world. But something unique about these airships is that if you die in them, the airship will fly to another part of the world map. So if you skip some levels, it can fly past them in an area that you absolutely need to play through the levels to reach, which I think is pretty unique game design. An interesting thing about these worlds is that they each have a theme and a name. First there's the grassland, then there's the desert land, then the water land, the giant land, the sky land, the ice land, the pipe land, and finally, the dark land. Let's temporarily go back to the levels. There are a lot of new faces in this game, like parabeetles, thwomps, boos, lava lotuses, and chain chomps, just to name a few. There are also a lot of variations of old enemies, like dry bones, buster beetles, paragoombas, sledge brothers, not to mention some spiny eggs just chase you and don't actually hatch into spinies. These things can be pretty annoying to deal with, especially if you're trying to do this 1-up trick in 3-4. And also, there's a variant of the Cheep Cheep called the Boss Base, who can swallow you whole even if you're Big Mario. You'll see him a lot in World 3. But anyways, after beating Ludwig von Koopa at the end of World 7, instead of getting a letter from the princess, we get a letter from Bowser telling us that he kidnapped the princess and dares Mario to come to his castle. And I like how he starts the letter with "Yo." I think that's pretty funny. World 8 contains a lot of airships, battleships, and tanks, leading up to the castle of Koopa where Bowser awaits you. And Bowser definitely acts a lot different than he did back in the first game. He still shoots fireballs at you, but now he does a ground stomp that can take out the breakable brick blocks in the middle. To beat him, you have to either throw hammers or fireballs at him, or lure him to ground stomp his way into the void. Once that happens, the game is officially over, even though the game kinda pulls a little trick on you with the end dialogue. Very funny game. This game is, in my opinion, a huge improvement over a lot of things from the first game. One thing I think the game improved from the first game on is the implementation of 2-player mode. Now, instead of playing 2 different games like you would in the first game, you now get to work together to get to the end of the world in one single game. And you don't have to wait for someone to die for player 2 to have its turn. After beating a level, the control automatically gets handed over to player 2. However, items and lives are not shared between the 2 players, which kinda sucks. Also, if you move over to the same location as the other player, you two get to exchange some fisticuffs in the Mario Brothers arcade mode. And once someone dies in that mode, the player who's still alive gets to play next. Oh, it should also be noted that player 1 is Mario and player 2 is Luigi. And unlike in Mario 2, they control exactly the same in this game. But yeah, this is a nice co-op mode. Moving back to the game, one thing I'm not a big fan of about this game is its length. This game took more than 4 hours to record from beginning to end, but that might be because I was trying to get footage of every level of every world. But still, some of these worlds can have 10 plus levels in them, which I think is a bit much, especially since the previous games had a more consistent number of levels per world. I guess they were trying to be less consistent on purpose to set up new, more expansive standards for how Mario worlds would be from that point forward, which honestly makes sense. But still, it would have been nice if this game had like a save feature or something. But one other thing I'm not a big fan of is the controls. I'll admit, when I first played this game, I was pretty frustrated when I couldn't figure out which way the mushrooms were gonna go when they exited the block. I guess the logic does make sense to hit it on a certain side, but I still don't really think something like that needs to be in a simplistic, somewhat fast-paced platformer game like Mario. That's just me. But about the controls, Mario's jumps don't really feel as defined in this game as they did in Mario 2, and I find controlling Mario when he's falling in his raccoon suit to be pretty awkward, but these are just some minor nitpicks. My least favorite stages in the game were definitely the ship levels. Some parts of some of the ship levels can easily be described in 2 words: bullet hell. For real, some of these parts can have you deal with close order bullets that are really hard to get around without getting hit, and it's not like these stages are going super fast either. Well, there is that one fast airship in World 8, but that level can suck it too. Another level I hated was the one in World 3 where you have to run away from the boss bases, and it felt like it took way too long to get to the next part with a tall platform on which I could breathe for a little. And the stage could get pretty hectic when you're swimming in the water and having really close calls with Jonah's 3-day hotel. And the cheeps in some of the later levels are just there to make your life as hard as possible, especially when you can't predict when they're going to jump you. But getting more positive, something that makes this game really replayable is the secrets. For real, this game has so many secrets. Secret 1-ups, secret pipes, secret houses, secret ships, secret items, secret coins, secret mechanics, secret rooms. Secrets are aplenty in this game, and I honestly really respect the dedication and time they took to put all the secrets where they are. They do really help in giving this game some extra NES charm and also make this game very replayable. As for the looks of this game, I think this game looks fantastic. And I also like Mario's subtle 3D head movements whenever he's running. It looks really good for 8-bit. And a lot of these sprites are definitely improvements to how they looked in the first game. However, whoever thought that Lakitu's spine should in some levels come out unhatched should be drugged out into the street and shot. One more thing I like about this game is that almost all the music tracks in this game are very catchy. I heard that this game's soundtrack was supposed to have a reggae feel to it, and I can definitely hear that, especially in the Overworld 1 theme. Seriously, those artificial drums sound so satisfying. One of my favorites from this game is the world map song for World 3, a nice chip tune to vibe to. But one song that I think really takes the cake is the remix Underground theme from the first game. One of the most boring themes from the original became a catchy bop, so catchy that I thought I'd give it some lyrics. So currently on Black Dude Reviews, we play the game that was in that movie Do. We know the name, the wizard blew it too. All the families and fans of the you-know-who. His name is Mario, their game on NES, this thing slaps. Sequel to DFDS's Lost Levels. That game is utter hevel, but before we take on that, we will first partake in the revelry that this game produced, cause it's so keen, it has great levels, and its music so pristine. Little secrets all over the stage is so great, they create all these faithful and wakeful creations, they stand the test of time. The princess looking fine, all the effort to get her, the sky is so sublime. Super Mario Bros. 3 is indeed a very important turning point in the Mario games. It introduced a formula that future Mario games for years to come would continue to use, and some other platformers that aren't Mario will try to use as well. Its looks, gameplay, and music still hold up to today, and the overall theme of the game is very unique even to today's video games. I mean, you'd never see a video game today be essentially one big Broadway performance. The characters and enemies are all memorable, and the artwork once again still holds up to today. The gameplay elements massively expand upon the first game's elements to make for a very unique and complete game. It has a ton of secrets that are very satisfying to find and unlock, and the euphoria that you get from beating the airships and castle levels and hearing such beautiful music play in the background is something to die for. Of course, not literally, just the game is very satisfying. And overall, the game's design is very nicely done. With the way the worlds are laid out, the way the levels are laid out, the mini games in the worlds, the items and what they do, Mario's different abilities, it's all so unique and finished. This game may have some annoying bits, especially at the end with the airships and whatnot, but they're a very minor part in the utter greatness that this game brings to Mario as an IP and to video games, period. This is not just an evolutionary Mario game, it's a revolutionary Mario game. And that's no easy feat, especially when you consider that in the Japanese sequel to the original game, they weren't even trying to experiment with new stuff. But here they did, and boy did they master the stuff they were experimenting with. I can definitely see why people would still consider this game to be one of the best Mario games of all time. And I would say, as someone who's only beaten it twice, this game is easily up there as one of my favorite games for the NES. So with that, I give Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES a 5 out of 5 stars. Next time we'll be doing some light backtracking to Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels for the Famicom Disk System. Please pray for me. That game is horrific. But rest assured that video will be coming. So if you want to see a black teenager ramble on about another old school video game, please subscribe. It's quick and easy, and you can always change your mind. But besides that, leave a like or leave a dislike, and thanks for watching.